All right, welcome back to Not Your Normal Life.
Welcome back.
I'm Aaron.
And I'm Naomi.
And we are so glad that you guys are joining us. We took a week off because we were sick.
Yeah.
We didn't have the COVID. We just had head
cold.
colds. We were just feeling a little bit out of it. So we weren't able to get an episode out. And then I bent my thumb back on the day that we usually record it.
Yeah.
I was trying to help our kids, and my thumb bent backwards, and it still hurts. Getting better. I can touch my fingers again.
That's good.
And it still hurts, though. So we took a week off. We have missed you guys.
Yeah.
We thank you for everyone that's continued to be listening. We're getting constant listens all the time. So I think we're pretty cool people.
I think so, too.
So today we are talking on episode 44, I believe it is.
Woo!
44. Isn't that exciting, Naomi?
I can't believe it.
Oh, we've been doing this for over a year. It's been fun. But yes, so we are on episode 44 today, and we're going to be talking about the importance of being a parent and the joy that comes with being a parent. And so this is kind of like on me. I feel like I'm the one that's a little bit more gung-ho about this and frustrated with a lot of what's happening.
Just in like society with
In society.
parentship or what?
Yeah, in what's happening in our culture right
Yeah.
now when it comes to being a parent, it's absolutely disgusting. And I've been seeing a trend on Instagram Reels, where mothers, I had to burp real quick, mothers are posting, it's actual moms are posting like a video like, I love you, but I miss her. And then it shows a bunch of like video clips or pictures of them like before they had kids, going on vacations and going to see these things. And the whole time I'm watching that, I go, what are you doing? You're discouraging other people from wanting to become parents. What you're doing is trying to stop people from having kids.
Well,
While
I think
you
that's
have
what
kids
they're
yourself.
trying to do. I
But
think they're
it's
just saying.
it's what's happening.
Yeah.
Because you're discouraging younger people to be like, well, I love traveling. I love my body. My body is my body. And I love the way I look. And I want to experience and go out partying and stuff like that. They try and it creates this personification that when you have a kid, you don't get to have fun anymore.
Right.
That you don't get to live your life anymore. And
Well, I will say like the first few years do feel like that. And,
Yeah.
And I also struggled with postpartum depression. So like I did feel that. Like I literally felt like, and not to be discouraging, but like postpartum depression is very real.
Yeah, we talk all about it.
And it does kind of like disguise kind of that joy of parenthood.
Yeah.
Because you're struggling with that. But I did feel that for like the first year.
yeah, you did.
I was like, wow, this
And
was
you
a
had
mistake.
back-to-back pregnancies. So it kind of amplified.
Yeah, and it
your-
was really hard. And I was like, wow, my life is over. Like
Yeah.
literally my life is over.
So I get that, the feeling at the
But-
beginning of it.
That should fade. And I will say that I am just as cool as I was before. And
You're
I
even cooler now.
Thank you, Aaron.
You're even better than you were before we had
Thanks.
kids.
But it's a different life, right? So now you have to just kind of plan for, okay, well, if I'm going out, am I going with my kids or am I getting a babysitter?
Yeah.
And it's not that hard. Get a babysitter. Go have
for
fun.
us, it's
Go
been
party.
For us right now, it's been pretty hard to find a
okay.
babysitter because we just moved here.
We just moved to Texas and we're trying to find a new sitter. Shout out to Abby Daber, who was the world's best sitter up in Washington.
Well, we had a few.
We had a few, but
Abby at the
was
last.
our recent. So now we have to find a new babysitter in our new town.
It's been really tough.
And get this, young Gen Zs, I have something to say to you.
Oh my gosh, here we go.
We've had 8 different girls
Cancel.
say that they literally want to come interview for this job and cancel at the very last minute. This one girl, no joke, she texted me 20 minutes before the interview and said, hey, so I can't come tonight because my parents just showed up with takeout. Like, what? What? What do you mean your parents got takeout? Come to a job interview. I cannot. Okay, anyways.
Okay, so,
side
yes.
Rabbit trail there.
No, it's a rabbit trail. When I'm looking at it, and there's been trends with dads and stuff like that too, and all these different things, just of trying to put the family, the nuclear family, the idea of having kids into a situation that says, if you have kids, you don't get to have fun.
Right.
If you have kids, you don't get to live your life. And I looked on, so then I was like, okay, I want to like watch videos and I want to try and see what's happening on YouTube, what's happening, what are people talking about? And it's so disgusting that it's hard to find videos of people talking about the joy of being parents, but they would rather talk about how bad it is to be parents, or even how their parents failed them.
Oh.
They'd rather everybody wants to talk about the problems in the household than actually talk about the joys that come out of the household until I started listening to a podcast, and it was a really good podcast, and it was Jordan Peterson. I know some people don't like Jordan Peterson. I think he's a very, very intelligent man. But Jordan Peterson and Russell Brand are on a podcast together. Two opposite people on the political spectrum, on ideals and philosophies of life, completely different, but they have this really great conversation. You guys should look it up. It's actually on Jordan Peterson's daughter's podcast, and she brings on them to talk about parenting because she's a mom now. She's a new mom. He's a dad. They're all parents, and so they talk about it. And Jordan really talks about, and this might be a shot in some people's faces. Some people can't have kids. I get it. Some people can't. Some people, it's just not in their DNA. But Jordan Peterson says if you can have kids and you choose not to have kids, then you don't mature in life, basically.
Oh, whoa.
And you will never reach a true maturity until you've had kids, until you've had to lay your life down in order to see someone else succeed in life. And it was like, whoa, that's a little bit deep. But then he talks about like how much he's learned from kids, how much he's like, I'm in my 50s now. He even brought this up. He goes, I'm in my 50s and I walk down the streets. I don't look at houses because now I have this idea of what houses look like. I don't look around. I just do my walk. I don't see what's happening here. I'm at a point in my life where the world is in memory form to me. That everything that I see is in a memory form. And that could be him. He's a very intellectually smart man. But he goes, with kids, I'm able to see the world in a different way because a kid can literally go from just sitting there reading a book to being the most goofiest kid in the world. They have such a drive to make other people happy. Like, I think we've seen that in Marcus and even Timmy. Our kids want to go out of their way to make us laugh. Kids want to make you laugh. Kids want to be fun with you. They want to be jokesters and tricksters. They want to do funny things. And Jordan's like, that's the best part about parenting and raising kids is you get to see life in a new perspective, not in your day-to-day going to work, coming back, doing this, doing that. It's like you get to see the world so much more.
Yeah, that's really good. Well, it's also, even outside of the church and outside of Christianity, like, we need to repopulate people.
Well, yeah.
Like, isn't the population rate going down?
Actually, yeah, we are at our all-time low.
Definitely in America, right?
Our replenish, in the United States, our replenish rate is actually dropped below, like, survivability.
Yeah,
like, if we keep up the trend, there won't be any more Americans left in just like 1 or 2 generations. There'll be very little Americans left.
And I get it. Like, we have tons of friends, and mostly millennials. I want to speak to the millennial crew right now that just don't want kids. And I'm not saying every person needs a kid. You don't. Like, I kind of disagree with that guy that you just said. If you don't want to have kids,
that's
don't
okay.
have
You can disagree.
Kids. Don't have kids. If you don't want them, don't have them. But why don't you want them? That's my question.
And if you're doing it for okay, here it is. If you're not wanting to have kids for a selfish reason because you don't want to give up part of your career or give up part of your life or being able to go on adventure, then you're selfish.
Yeah.
You're 100% selfish. Yeah. I'm sorry. No, actually, I'm not sorry. I'm calling you out. You're selfish.
Yeah.
Because you would rather live your life and do all these fun things, then bring another person into life and let them experience that as well. And then also teach them how to be better people. People talk so much about like, well, I don't want to bring a kid into this world because if I bring him in, it's such a bad world. It's like, well, why don't you bring a child in and teach him how to be a good person?
Right.
And maybe if we just start teaching our kids to be good people, we'll start seeing the world become a better place.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, well, they're just bad people. It's just like, well, okay, start making good people. and raise them good and teach them good ethics and teach them good responsibility. And instead of just being like, well, I don't want to bring a child in because this world's messed up. It's like, that's selfish.
Yeah. And it's also dumb. Like, we were born into a terrible world. The world's always had bad people and bad things.
Yeah.
We were born and we all turned out pretty good.
Yeah.
So add more people. I don't know. And it is good to just have that responsibility, going back to what you said. Like, I always look back at like 20-year-old us. I'm like, wow, we thought we were so busy. We thought we were so wise. And it's like, wow, you really do. You have to grow up fast when you have a baby handed to you at the hospital. And it's good. It's a good thing. It's like,
it's a great, you actually like, you could try as hard as you want to prepare to be a parent. You're never prepared to actually be a parent. Mm-hmm. But once you do become a parent, it snaps. It just snaps in and you become a parent. It's so weird. Naomi couldn't hold a child for her life depended on it. Naomi hated holding babies, but as soon as she had her own 2 boys, she was so good at holding our kid. She loved to hold our kids. She wanted them close. She did have postpartum depression, and there was moments where she didn't want to be around her kids because of the postpartum, not because she didn't love them, but because of the postpartum depression that she was having. But it just snaps in. You think you're like, oh, I don't think I can ever be a parent. It's like, well, no, you can. It's literally genetically put into your body, into your DNA, that once you're holding your baby, your flesh and blood, you're like, you're the creation that came out of you. That it's like, I know how to take care of that. I know what to do. I know what to do. I know how to hold this baby. I know that I want to hold it close, and I want to make sure it has its food and its diapers changed and all these different things. And as they grow up, you want to see them succeed in different things. And
what I love about parenting is it does teach you more about the heart of God.
Oh, yeah.
Which I love. Like, and also I'm a total sap now. I'm so freaking emotional. I cry at everything. It's so ridiculous.
Dude, she cries at every final season of every show that we watch. She just starts crying so hard.
I even am scrolling through Facebook and watch a cute video. Facebook knows what I like. Facebook knows that I like the dog videos where they find a dog who's homeless and he's like skin and bones. And then they raise him back to life, and I cry every time. But yes, parenting will make you emotional, and parenting will teach you about the heart of God.
Yeah.
And stories like the prodigal son, stories about, God sending Jesus to die, like those stories are like 10 times more powerful when you have your own children. And just, it hits different,
and you're in that position.
Yeah.
You're in that position of raising a child and you'd be like, well, I don't really understand
oh, sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I was going to say, even Mary, the mother of Jesus, Mary, like her life literally just like changed for me after I had a kid. And I was like the whole, everybody knows the story of Mary and Joseph and the angel and Jesus and all that. But like that story is like so much more impactful when you are a mom. And again, we know people can't have kids. We know that. And our hearts go out to you. And I know there's other ways that you can be a parent. And even if you can't be a parent directly, there's always like amazing aunts and uncles.
Or being a godfather or godmother. Like, we know lots of people that don't have kids but have become godparents, and they love those god kids, and they spend a lot of time with the children that the other family is like, yeah, we want you to be a part of this life. And they're able to watch these kids grow up, and they have this parental experience. Like, it's a different form of parenting, but you still have that opportunity to parent and speak into the lives of a child. So.
Yeah. And it is a blessing. I think that's what we want to say is, don't let the media or whoever, social media people, tell you that it's a burden. It's not. If you don't
is it financially hard? Yes. Is it physically, mentally draining? Sometimes, yes, it can be. We're not going to beat around the bush and say every day is cupcakes and rainbows, and there's never an argument, and there's never a moment when you have to ask for forgiveness to your kid because you've yelled at them or said something you shouldn't have said. It's like that happens. But we're human, and the way we handle those things and you go through them, you teach your kids of how to walk through situations. And it's the most beautiful thing. Life throws you curveballs, and life can be difficult. And every situation that you walk in, whether you have kids or not, life can be very, very hard.
Yeah.
But the joys that come with the kids, because I think one of me and Naomi's favorite things to do is when the kids go down and they're asleep, is when we go to bed, we go in and we look at our kids. Either one of us or both of us go. And it's such a beautiful thing to like stand over your child and look at them at peace and know in your heart that they are completely at peace because they know they're safe because you're right there with them. And it's such a beautiful thing to see that. And the joy that they have every time they see you, they're happy to see you. It's like there's not many people in the world that are very happy to see you.
Well, some people's dogs
all the time. Dogs don't count, but
Labradors are very loving.
Stop it! But there's not really many people that every time you see them that they're extravagantly happy and they want to be around you and they want to experience life with you. That your kid wants to do that. Yeah, when they become a teenager, that's a different story. They start wanting to go do things with their friends.
Yeah, we haven't gotten there yet. Thank goodness.
We haven't. We have 2 boys that are extremely clingy.
I also like to look at them when they're sleeping because that's the only time they're still. And they're so beautiful when they're still.
They're so beautiful all the time.
It is nice there is something like going over, like what you said, I like that. I haven't really thought about that before, but looking at them when they're sleeping and praying over them while they're sleeping is like just really important. You have a very big responsibility as a parent, and God chooses those kids for you.
Yeah.
And I have to remind myself that sometimes because autism is part of our story.
It's hard.
And it's very challenging, but I know that God made Timmy for us. And so on those hard days, it's like, oh, it's a reminder that God chose him for us and we are the stewards of his life.
And like with me and Naomi, like we want to have a third kid eventually down the road and stuff like that. We want a third, and we're not allowing the fears of autism to get in the way of having a third, because we're like, we want to have another child. We want to experience life with another child because it's such a joy to experience life with them, because they bring a new perspective to every day and getting to see how they interact with life.
Yeah.
And how they want to learn. They want to experience things. They have questions. They ask why. Like a friend of ours, he posted on Facebook a while ago, and he's all like, why is it wrong for kids to say why? It's okay. I believe that kids should always say why, except when it's in a situation when you shouldn't say why. But it's okay. It's good for kids to ask why, and it's good to answer it. But in some situations, when you tell them to do something, there should not be a why. Like, clean up your toys. Why?
Because you live here.
Because you live here and it's your chore. It's your job.
These are yours, not mine.
These are yours, not mine. I'm not cleaning it.
Yeah.
Even though there's a bunch of dirty ones up there toys everywhere that we have to clean.
Yeah.
When we're done. But with that, I want to encourage people, because I find it very frustrating that we're reaching a time in a day and age in our culture where we're seeing the culture go hand in hand with statistics showing that we have a birth rate dropping, replenish rate dropping, and youth and young people choosing, I'd rather not have a kid because I want to live my life. It's, yes, I agree, but at the end of the day, when you're old, who's going to be around you when you're old?
Yeah.
Your friends are all going to die eventually, but your kids are going to be younger than you, and they're going to be around you, and then you have grandkids.
No, we're going to be living with Marcus when we're old.
Yeah, that's true.
Guaranteed. Just kidding.
But it's just like,
I get
family is so important. Being around family and having that around you as you get older, it's great, because it's not that you lean on your kids to take care of you, but to have that around you is very important.
And I also would encourage people to change the narrative if you are a parent, because I also have seen some like toxic motherhood on Instagram too, which the reels you mentioned earlier about, the like I miss her thing. But there is a lot of that toxic motherhood where it's like, it's almost like, I don't know why moms post that kind of stuff on Facebook. It's like, okay, it's silly to make jokes about how like you drink wine at night when your kids go down. And like, yes, part of that is like you unwinding, and I'm all for it. I get it. But when it starts becoming like a thing,
a necessity.
Well, when you start
an addiction.
Well, yes, but also posting about it. Like, why are you posting and telling everybody oh, I can't wait for them to be away from me.
Oh, my kids are asleep. Time to party or time to play.
Again, part of that is valid, and I do it. I do that often.
But you don't post that you're like, no, now I finally get to relax because my kids are asleep.
Posting or not posting, it's still a lifestyle. And if you start turning into this, like, what am I trying to say? Like, if you create a routine that's like washing out the day that you had with your kids, like over and over
with food or alcohol
or like that's kind of, and if you talk about your kids in a negative way, I also don't like that. I see that a lot on social media, like just a lot of toxic talk about parenting, and it's just don't, like, even if you struggle with some of that stuff, think about it. Like, why is it that way for you?
Yeah.
And parenting is challenging, and it is very challenging, and you do deserve to take days off, and you do deserve a glass of wine at night sometimes when your kids have been super crazy all day. But it's like changing that narrative and remembering the blessing that God has given you with the children. And hey, if that means that you need an extra day off during the week or you need a babysitter show up, like, schedule that stuff. Make your parenting journey worthwhile and make it healthy, and don't make it this toxic thing that feels like a burden to you.
And also, I've seen people talk to other people in a toxic way, not just on Facebook and stuff, but also like in person.
Yeah.
I've seen people be like, oh, we haven't gone on a date in this many months. It's just so hard being around our kids. They're always asking questions. It's like, what if your child was literally right behind you at that moment?
Yeah.
What does that say to your kid? Like, I know we're kind of getting off the topic of what we're doing, but it's the same thing. Like, you have to be careful the way you talk about your children, especially around others, because what is other people now thinking of you as a parent? What are they thinking about you? It's tough. It struggles. There's hardships, and other parents get it, and other parents will understand it. Like, there's always moments where, like, if you're out hanging out with friends and you don't have the kids, you can have that kind of little quick low conversations like, oh man, it's really nice to be out with other adults where we can have adult conversations and not talk about like Dr. Seuss all day, which is great. And I love hearing about it. But coming back to what we were talking about trying to get people to want to have kids and then not creating a persona that being a parent is the end of your life. It's a shackle. Yeah. It's a ball and chain that you're attaching yourself to your child for 18 plus years. It's like, no, you're not attaching. Well, yeah, they're attached to you because you got to take care of them. You need to raise them, but it's an opportunity for someone to walk alongside you.
Yeah, definitely.
And on top of that, you also need to make sure your marriage is in kind of the right order before you bring a child into it. I was like watching, I think I sent you the video. It's like a triangle of like a mother, father, and child. And it's like, why do you have like overbearing mothers or the overbearing fathers over their kids? And then when the spouse comes in, they attack the spouse. It's because the relationship between the mom and the dad aren't close enough that they rely on their kid to create the emotional support that they were getting.
Scary.
And you need to be careful about that. You need to walk into it when you have a kid that mother and father are closer than the relationship with you and your child. Like, you need to be close to your child, but it's a partnership and you need to be close. And so it can be tough, it can be hard, but it's something that's well worth it because parenting for us has brought us so much joy to look into our kids' eyes and hear when Marcus tells us really great stories and he just expresses such enthusiasm about things or he asks lots of questions about stuff. Like, he loves mummies. He was reading a book about King Tut and stuff like that, and he was like asking me questions. He's like, about mummies, and it's like, was he a real person? It's like, yeah, the mummy is the body of a person that died. And he's like, whoa. And someone opened up his sarcophagus and he said the word. I was like, oh, good job. Good job on saying sarcophagus. And I was like, yeah, someone opened it up. He goes, why would he do that? And I was like, well, they wanted to see what was inside. It's like, but there was a dead person inside. I was like, yeah, but they wanted to see. He's like, all right.
Nice.
But yeah, so I think this is kind of just a shorter episode for you guys, but we want to encourage you guys, be mindful. And if you are a parent, be mindful how you communicate, how you talk about being a parent. And also, if you're on the fence about being a parent, weigh the pros and cons.
Yeah.
Weigh the pros and cons. And if the pros outweigh the cons, have a child.
Yeah.
Seriously, do it. Have a kid because you'll never regret it. I promise you won't regret it.
Yeah.
They're great individuals to teach you so much about even your own life. But so I'm Aaron.
And I'm Naomi.
This has been Not Your Normal Life.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah, we'll see you guys hopefully next week.
Bye.